Lamine Yamal steps into McDonald's, looks left, sees Pulisic, looks right, sees Jimenez. Gives a nod to Ronaldinho in the corner with a FIFA World Cup meal. Ronaldinho sees Son in the booth. Son finds Beckham going for extra Big Mac sauce. He's got Davies at the table just behind him. Davies going for his collectible cup. Oh, no! A steal by Henry, who pulls his own collectible cup. Collect one of 9 legendary cups with a FIFA World Cup meal.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last. All rights reserved. 2026 McDonald's at FIFA World Cup 2026.
No one goes to Hank's for his spreadsheets. They go for a darn good pizza. Lately, though, the shop's been quiet, so Hank decides to bring back the $1 slice. He asks Copilot in Microsoft Excel to look at his sales and costs and help him see if he can afford it. Copilot shows Hank where the money's going and which little extras make the dollar slice work. Now Hank has a line out the door. Hank makes the pizza, Copilot handles the spreadsheets. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you be in 3 places at once. And while we can't help you organize your calendar, LinkedIn can help you land more clients so you have a calendar to organize. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Morning decisions. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
Pay's checkout is offered by your banks and credit unions. So when you shop online at participating merchants, your cards appear in one place. Pay's. It checks out. Activation required. See Pays.com to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
It's episode 3 of The Extra Kick. I'm Ashley Anderson, joined by Donald Wine, who's got some Woodford on the other end of the Zoom call. He's in DC, not out west anymore. It has been a wild ride for you, Donald. I'm excited to talk about that. I'm still in Houston, Texas. But Donald, how is it back at home? And is it weird to be back at home?
I wouldn't say it's weird, but it was very nice to sleep in my bed last night. I slept in until like 10 a.m., which is about 7 a.m. on the West Coast. So it's about, I guess I'm still on West Coast time, but it was great. I landed back here at very late on the 26th. Days of the week have long since surpassed me, so I'm not going to figure out what day of the week that was. So that was 2 days ago. Yesterday, I grabbed my car out of the shop and I drove up to Philadelphia. I had a press pass for Croatia versus Ghana. I'm sure we'll talk about that game. Drove back. That was like a 4.5 hour drive because of traffic and everything else. Went to the game, came straight back, and then I just kind of like watched the late games. Once the late game was done, I passed out. I was dead tired, and today has been a lot of just relaxing and catching up with stuff and trying to figure out the next part of this journey.
Well, it's well deserved. You've been all over the place. Before we get to your experience in Philly, I want to talk about that third group stage match. You were there for U.S. versus Turkey. Obviously, Turkey got the win, but it didn't really matter for the U.S. What was the vibe like, since there were really no stakes for the U.S. men's team?
You know, it was interesting because there were 2 sets of fans. There was the set of fans who were, you know, hey, they've been to the first 2 games. We know we're through. We know that Turkey is out, and we don't have to play anybody of importance for this game. So a lot of people are just kind of treating it as just a vibes game, right? Like, you know, like a friendly. It doesn't matter. We're going to watch a game, but like if we lose, it's not going to hurt. If we win, it's not going to change things. So it was great to kind of approach a World Cup game. It's the first time ever that we can approach a men's World Cup game with that kind of resolve in our minds. Like, hey, we can just go in here and just see what happens. Then there was the other set of fans who that excitement, and I won't say the excitement wasn't there for the first set of fans, but the second set of fans where the excitement was still there. It was the people who, hey, I know this game doesn't count, but this is my first World Cup game, right? So we've had that kind of, you know, building up where, you know, the first game, it was everybody's, you know, for the most part, a lot of people's first game. And then as we've kind of gone along, we've kind of welcomed people onto this journey with us. So it was cool to see some people still bouncing around, like really excited about going into the stadium, checking out all the activities that FIFA had and just really say, hey, this is my first World Cup game. This is where my journey begins for this World Cup. And even if it's their first game or their third game, it was really cool to see that balance of people in LA. So it made for a fun environment, of course, until the very last kick of the game.
Got to give a shout out to our good friend Brian Davis too, because that was number 100 for him. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's covering both men's and women's. Do you know, was
I
it?
think it's just for the men. He's been to a ton. As you know, me and him have been to a lot of games together. Match 100 for him. I know he had been looking forward to that for a long time. Just got to join him for Cap 100. Congrats, Brian. Very very big accomplishment. I know it's well deserved. You're one of the true patriarchs of this here OG-ness. So I really really appreciate you, my friend, and congratulations on 100.
So the game ended up with Turkey winning 3-2, really on the very last second, which was a little disappointing, but
Yeah.
US wasn't really playing any of their key players, though Pulisic did get some playing time. Were you nervous at all that they were putting him out there?
I wasn't nervous. I it was one of those things where if it were me, I would say, "Hey man, I know you want to get some cardio in, do that on the side." But I understood him wanting to be out there and for Pochettino to kind of it also was a good moment, right? Because you needed a lift and he provided a lot of lift. And he played like he was fresh. So it didn't feel like he was labored by the calf injury, which was great. I know some other guys picked up some injuries during the game that they're still monitoring. But for him to get back out there, get some cardio, not get hurt, not pick up any, yellow cards or red cards was great. And yeah, I think the game was back and forth. It was exactly what you want, a very exciting game. And even at the very end, it just felt like when the ball went in the goal, all of us were kind of like, that's just a cruel way to end this. But it wasn't like we were crushed. It was just more like that game deserved to be a draw. Both teams to walk away with a point and be happy. Turkey got their moment, and so they were. I mean, even though they were exiting the World Cup, they were able to exit on a high. So I guess for those fans, it was a great deal for them. But for us, it was all right. Well, that wasn't great, but let's move on to the next one because the next one really does matter. It's round of 32.
One of the big things that came out of that game too was Brad Pitt was there with Edward Norton. All the Fight Club jokes were on Twitter. Were you paying attention? I know in SoFi they were probably showing some of these celebrities on screen. Were you paying much attention to that? And did you have any run-ins? Because I know you've had some run-ins with former players. Any other run-ins in Los Angeles?
No, I didn't see any of the celebrities. I mean, like on the Jumbotron at the stadium, they show. They probably show more for us than they did for you on TV. But you don't run into them. They're in their suites and their hospitality. We were very very far away from them. So it was kind of one of like, oh, which little suite are they in from afar? But on the streets it was funny. I didn't really see any celebrities. It's LA, so maybe we did and they just didn't notice because LA is kind of that city where they can walk down the street in some places and not really be accosted by people. But also at these games, we see a lot of the former players. We see a lot of people who are who would be considered people that everybody knows, and we're a group that's like, hey, that's cool, welcome. Like we're not gonna put them all the way up on a pedestal. We're also not gonna completely tell them to get out of here. But it's one of those things where we know that they're there to have a great time, just like us, and we're willing to maybe just say hi, give them some dap, and keep it moving. But for the most part, most people, when celebrities come to our events, they kind of show up and they're able to have a great time like everybody else, and not really be bothered, except for maybe the occasional hi or introduction to people. And that's cool. I think that's part of the allure of coming to an event for someone like an Edward Norton. If Brad Pitt wants to show up, he's going to get accosted. People know who he is. But you guys like Will Ferrell or something like that, when they show up, it's a big deal. But at a certain point, we know they want to enjoy themselves too, and we let them do that.
So when I'm at Houston Stadium, I have access to walk all over. It's been pretty cool. I get to walk by the VVIP. I haven't had any household names that I know of. I did hear Travis Scott was there. I didn't see him and I wasn't paying close attention.
I would expect him to be in Houston.
Yeah, there's been a lot of royalty from other countries that have come over, and I'm guessing we'll probably have some household names showing up tomorrow. I actually have to wake up very, very early tomorrow. I've got one of those noon games in Houston, so I have to be at the stadium at 6 a.m., which means I'm waking up at 4 a.m. But we've got Brazil, Japan, and I am super excited because I thought the group stage in Houston was a little underwhelming at times, but Brazil, Japan, that's huge.
I
What's
love
your
this for you.
experience? I know you've seen Japan in person. Have you seen Brazil in person?
I have because the U.S. has played Brazil on a couple of occasions, including last time I believe was in 2024, right before Copa America. We saw them in Orlando, and I'm really good friends with a lot of people in their leadership of their supporters group, Movimiento Verde Amarelo. And so they're a really fun group. They like to, sing and dance and do all the chants in the stands. And Japan is just as fun. They go hard the entire game. They are absolutely the nicest of the fan bases. And as I'm sure you and others are aware of, after the game, they always bring these blue bags because they're blue samurai, they're blue trash bags, and they kind of inflate them and they just become easy noisemakers and just visual effects. But after the game, they literally stay and pick up trash around the stadium because that is their tradition to leave the place as clean as it was when they entered. And it's become a tradition for fans of other teams who play them to join in. And they may not have their own bags, but like for us, when we were at Netherlands, Japan, we were picking up trash and handing it to them, and they were, thanking us for helping them because that helps them get out of the stadium quickly as well. But I think that's just it's like I don't know if it's a tradition, but for me it is to see Japan play in the World Cup and to see that take place, that kind of solemn ritual that they do afterwards is really, really inspiring and is really fun. But it also is just heartwarming because that fan base came, they saw their team play, and afterwards they're thinking about others, which I think more people should take note of.
Yeah, this game I am the most excited for of all the games. I've had two with Ronaldo in Portugal, which is obviously a huge deal, but this matchup and both fan bases are so unique. Not to knock the fan bases I've had so far because they've all come out with so much passion and energy. I had Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia the other day. I will say it seemed like the majority of the crowd was going for Cabo Verde. But it's just been so cool to see people that are from here or from other parts of the US or from these countries that are coming in. They're decked out in, their team's colors or their jerseys. And that's been one of the coolest things about the World Cup. But I don't know if anything's going to top Brazil and how rowdy they can get.
They're fun. I mean, they are a blast. They're such a blast to be around. I love hanging out with them. Like I said, the friends that I have, we chat often. I was hoping that their path would intersect with mine during the World Cup. It just hasn't happened that way. I guess we got to get to the final. Maybe we get to the final, then it'll work. But they're going to be a lot of fun. I also just think of the games that you've seen, and you've seen some pretty decent games, some exciting games with goals. This one, I think, is going to be the most exciting that you see because both teams are very dynamic on the field. They both can score goals. They both have the tendency to, Brazil has the flair. Japan has more of the technical side of things, but both are equally dangerous. And so that's one of the games of the round of 32 I'm most excited to watch as a neutral fan because both of those teams are capable of advancing far in the tournament for different reasons.
Comcast is delivering extraordinary experiences in live sports. Through the incredible broadcast and storytelling from NBC, innovative and personalized viewing features on Xfinity and Peacock, and the country's most reliable Wi-Fi, viewers can enjoy every game-changing play faster and more seamlessly than ever. All on a network built to deliver unforgettable moments as close to live as possible. The ultimate experience for the American sports fan. Learn more at ComcastCorporation.com/sports.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Hey guys, today I'm interviewing my cat about his perfect bistro food. Percy, you seem to be a big Perfect Bistro fan. Care to comment? Totally. What do you like about it? You love the high-quality ingredients? And the delicious flavors, of course. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Listen to Percy, guys. Visit perfectbistro.com to try it for your cat.
AI is moving fast across the enterprise. But without visibility, it's just chaos. Different tools, different models, different teams using AI in completely different ways. ServiceNow turns that chaos into control. With the AI Control Tower, you see all your AI across the business in one place. what it's doing, what it's done, and what it's about to do, so you stay in control. To put AI to work for people, visit ServiceNow.com.
Introducing Fidelity Trader Plus, the next generation of advanced trading from Fidelity. Customize your tools and charts and access them seamlessly across desktop, web, and mobile. For faster trades, anywhere you go. Try the all-new Fidelity Trader Plus. Learn more about our most powerful trading platform yet at fidelity.com/trader plus. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE, SIPC.
Jimmy Conrad here, your favorite former U.S. men's national team player, and I have something to put on your radar. The core short from Viore. Because after getting my first pair, I was hooked. They work for everything that I like doing. Soccer, tennis, hoops, mountain biking, hiking, lifting weights, swimming, Pilates. It truly is one short every sport. And I'm going to be honest, they're unbelievably comfortable, which is why I wear them doing everything else like running errands, hanging with friends and family, or lounging around the house. They are designed to work for whatever your day throws at you. And that's because Viore is an investment in your happiness. For our listeners, they're offering 20% off your first purchase. So head to Viore.com/footy. That's VUORI.com/FOOTY. Exclusions apply. Visit the site for full details. So again, head over to Viore.com/footy and make it happen.
I don't want to jump too far ahead yet because we haven't talked about your experience in Philly, and you got to be on more of the reporter side. You've been following the U.S. more as a fan and part of the supporters group, but you got to be in the press box in Philly. So I've had the privilege of doing covering many different sports from a press box and doing it from that reporter perspective. It can be more fun because you sometimes get better views, better seats, but it also cannot be as fun because you don't really get to let loose like a fan. So what was it like being in Philly, being a reporter after getting to be a supporter for all the other games?
Well, it's fun because this was the first time I'd done the Club World Cup last year, but this is the first time I was able to do a World Cup game on a press pass. And I will say this, you've been in press boxes before, so have I. It's a very American thing that press boxes are very neutral, very solemn. Nobody cheers for things that happen in the press box. In the World Cup, that is completely not what people do. People are dressed in their jerseys. We had people in the press box dressed in jerseys of Croatia and Ghana. Really Ghana. I mean, I saw one Croatian jersey in there. But some of them aren't even taking notes. They're not doing any stories. They're just, this is how I got my ticket. So they're just sitting there and they're reacting. Sure, it's maybe less boisterous as if they were in the stands. But when stuff was happening on the field, goals, near misses, they were reacting as if they were outside. And so it's very jarring as an American to walk into a press box and then that happens and all of us kind of look at each other like, wait, World Cup time. We're the anomalies here. Everyone else in every other corner of the world, you can react in a press box to something that happens positively or negatively for your team. So that part you have to get past. But it's a different angle because I was in the press box that they normally have for the NFL. So we were in the corner. Great view. But you're still kind of all the windows were closed, so you don't get the full energy from the crowd from the press box as you would if you were outside.
I was surprised to hear that. I was not expecting to hear that people are sitting there cheering in the press box.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not used to that, being that I've covered mostly sports in America and I've covered some racing in Canada, but yeah, everyone's very serious and focused on that reporter neutral role. So I don't know how I'd feel being around people cheering. I think that would be exciting, but at the same time, maybe distracting a little bit.
If you're writing a story, I would imagine it's distracting. I didn't have to write a story for that. So the great thing was I kind of got to take in the vibes of everything and kind of use it for like this show, for my other show, and kind of piece together things that I want to talk about from the group stage. But the first time you hear it, you're like, whoa, someone's getting kicked out. Because you know, for us, like if that would have happened like in a football game, you would get kicked out. That's not allowed. But this time around, I mean, I've been at games for soccer where there are more people in jerseys for different teams than there are actual reporters reporting on the game. So at a certain point, you kind of look around and you're like, I'm the odd one here. And once you kind of think about it in those terms, it starts to go away, but it's still jarring the first time you hear it.
That might be the most surprising thing I've heard about the World Cup.
Yeah. So
Did not
if
expect
you get a
that.
press pass for a future tournament, just bear that
Yeah.
in mind when you walk in.
I got one for New York for the final.
Yeah. But of course, if we had reacted, right, if it was a US
Oh
game and
yeah,
I
we could.
reacted, they'd be like, "What are you doing? I can't believe this." But no, it's in other places. It's actually like taboo to not, to be neutral. You can cheer for your team, but you just have a different. Maybe you have a suit on, or you maybe have a polo shirt on, but you can still cheer for your team.
Did you hear anything interesting when you're in the press box, maybe from other media, or did you get a chance to go after the match and hear, the press conference with the players at all?
So I was scheduled to do the press conference, but because of how long it took for me to get up there and because of my travel schedule, I opted to not do that. I decided I'm just going to try and drive home and get some sleep. If I'd done the press conference, I probably wouldn't have got back until midnight, close to 1. So I decided not to do that. But I will say in the press box, it was great to kind of compare what operations and what the games have been like in Philadelphia as opposed to other cities because a lot of the journalists that are there have been credentialed for those Philly games and have done all of them. So it was great to kind of say, there they do the national anthem, the U.S. national anthem, even though the U.S. wasn't playing. They played that an hour before the game. At other games that I've been to not involving the United States, that didn't happen. In Canada, they didn't play the Canadian national anthem before the game either. So that was interesting. So like different operational quirks, how to get around the stadium because obviously every stadium is different entry and exit. You mentioned in Houston that you have to scan in and scan out when you walk in. I have not had to do that, but in Philadelphia, I was halfway to my car when someone was like, "You didn't scan out." And I go, "I'm pressed. I don't need to scan out." And they said, "You do." So I had that welcome to the NFL kind of moment. But yeah, it's interesting that they to be able to compare what the operations were, what games have been like, and how people have reacted to people being in the city. So a lot of the journalists and I were kind of chatting about that part of things.
And I'm guessing, so when you were in the games out west, you were attending as the supporter fan. So I wouldn't think they would expect you to scan out because that would be chaotic. But
Right.
someone working in the stadium, FIFA has made sure that I have to get my credentials scanned. And then I guess to track to make sure I left the stadium, I have to get scanned out. And I found that sometimes they tell me I can go to the left to get an Uber in the yellow lot. And sometimes it's like, nope, you're going to the red lot today. And you never know why they change it on you. It can be logistically a nightmare, but I find it to be, having done this many years of my life, sometimes a lot of times I equate it to people are just working for the day and they don't really know the answer. And so you just don't know. It's kind of a crapshoot. You don't know who you're going to ask that day and if they're going to be playing by a certain set of rules that other people aren't. And that's, I guess, the fun of working in the media and working at, soccer games for the World Cup.
I know they say never let them know your next move, but sometimes I need to know the next move. I need to know that that's consistent, especially if it like for you, like if I'm going to be there every day, I need to know that's consistent because that helps my routine. But it's the World Cup. Sometimes, like as you mentioned, some people are there every day, and some people are that is their first day. And there's a lot of people at World Cups and other tournaments who are of the milk that nobody ever talked to me. That's the going line when you say, "Hey, this is something that we are told to do." Nobody said that to me. Is always a line that you have to kind of hurdle across to get to where you need to go. So
I'm glad you brought up the differences in stadiums because it's interesting working in Houston only, and you've been to a bunch of stadiums at this point for the World Cup. I kind of forget that it's different other places because I have, aside from the Uber line changing on me, I have a lot of consistency and I have a stadium with a closed roof, which is not
mhm.
the case at a lot of places. Now, SoFi, you had a closed roof. In Seattle, you did not, correct? And then in
That's
Philly,
correct.
you don't have a closed roof, which they've had some rain delays. So I keep forgetting that I'm kind of in a lucky situation. I don't have to worry about rain delays, but I have had to worry about rain in Houston, and I have gotten stuck in the rain going through security, had my laptop rained on. That was a whole thing, but it is interesting that some of these host cities, they have this element of weather, and it's going to affect whether you're going to have to, delay the game. And then some of these stadiums don't have that problem. So I don't know if that's an advantage or not to players too. What do you think?
I think it's funny you mentioned that because one of the reasons for the hydration breaks that we're getting in every game, the reason why they're mandated is because last summer during the Club World Cup, it was so hot in all of these outdoor stadiums that all of a sudden FIFA's like, we're having hydration breaks in almost every game that's not in a dome. So let's just mandate them. And the guys, some of the guys I was talking to in Philadelphia yesterday were saying, hey, with the exception of the 2 hour rain delay that they had, weather delay they had, they really haven't had a lot of hot weather. It's just been, will it rain, will it not? Yesterday it poured during the game, but eventually stopped in the second half, so or close to halftime. But the heat has not yet been there. But I say that to say, this weekend on the East Coast, we are getting 100-degree weather in Philadelphia, in DC, and in New York. So good luck, America, and good luck to all you fans from Europe who escaped their heat wave to come over here. We're about to give you what an American heat wave looks like, and it's not going to be pretty. So I think for the players, it's going to be interesting how they adapt to that, especially considering, for the most part, they've had some pretty temperate climates and very good, again, outside of rain, very good temperatures to play soccer in. Now let's see what happens when it gets to be 90, 95, 100 in some of these places with the heat index and with, with the humidity. That's going to be, as we get closer to the final, which is going to be outdoors at MetLife, we're going to see how some of these teams react to being in the heat. That might be an advantage to, some of the teams from South America, from Africa, who are used to it more than the guys from Europe.
I was looking at the map to see all the different states in the US that are getting hit with 100 or higher in temperature. And I don't know how it happened that Houston is actually going to be a little bit cooler than a lot of the US. And when I was told I was coming to Houston, everybody told me the first thing that they would say, Houston is hot. And somehow,
heat and humidity. Yeah.
I don't know how I'm actually escaping the heat wave compared to other people. Not really sure.
Knock on wood that
Knock
it
on
lasts
wood,
the rest of
yeah.
the week for you. And that the
Plus that
4th
it's
of
supposed to
July
be
doesn't
like
give you nice little
95.
firework. Yeah.
Yeah, it just won't be 109 like some places.
109. I mean, someone in Dallas was like, "Well, it's 90 outside, but it's different because it's dry." And I said, "Look, ma'am, I lived here. I live in DC where it's 110 and humid. I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what the humidity reading is. 100 is 100. It's hot no matter what dryness it is. And so some of these players are about to experience some real heat, and let's hope they're ready for it. Because the last thing you want is for it to be unsafe for players to play. But that's where these hydration breaks initially were meant to solve, or at least help with, as these guys battle the elements.
So let's look ahead to July 1st. We've got the US playing in the round of 32, Bosnia Herzegovina, in San Francisco, or well, technically San Francisco, right? Are you going to be there?
I'm flying out on Tuesday, and I don't have a flight home. I have a flight to Seattle, so hopefully the U.S. will win, and that way that will be a flight that I can use. But yeah, it's going to be. This will be my first men's World Cup knockout game. I've done group stage games in the other three that I've been to, but I never got a chance to experience a World Cup knockout game on the men's side. I've done it for the women, and it's going to be tense because it's obviously a new situation for a lot of people. It's we're the host nation or the co-host nation, so with that, there's a little bit extra pressure, and you don't want this ride to end. It's been so fun thus far, and for a lot of fans, we just know that now every game we go to could be the last one for us, and you don't want to be there for that last one because you don't want to see the journey end in a heartbreaking way. So it's about these guys getting out and kind of being motivated to put on their best performances every single game from here on out, because that's what's going to need to be required for them to get as far as they can. So that in that regard, I'm excited for the game, but yeah, is there some anxiety amongst the fan base? Absolutely, because I know people are saying this is a knockout game, anything can happen, and You just hope that any chaos stays away from this game and attaches itself somewhere else.
How do you feel about this matchup? Because I remember when we met the first time, first episode, you talked about if the US got one of those sneaky teams that maybe are flying under the radar, where do you rank Bosnia Herzegovina among the teams left? Is this one that you think is a serious threat, or they have to have a lot go right to beat the US?
I think they're a very solid team. This is a winnable game, though. And you obviously want to treat Bosnia and Herzegovina with respect, and they've earned that respect by getting out of the group stage. Sure, they got out in third, but they were in almost every game that they played, and they have some great players, including one of their guys who used to play on the men's national team, then transferred and switched his allegiance to Bosnia, and hit the penalty kick that sent Bosnia to the World Cup. He's from Milwaukee. They call him the Milwaukee Messi, and he's going to be playing in this game against the team that he got a start on. And so I'm sure there's going to be emotions in that regard for him and for Bosnia, because, it's not very often that they get to this part of the World Cup, if they even qualify. So they're going to come out. Obviously, they want to be the team that takes out one of the co-hosts, but it's up to the United States to play a complete game. If you think back to that game against Paraguay and even the game against Australia, they need to go back to that. And if they can do that, then this is a very winnable game. But it's easier said than done, and Bosnia's not going to make it easy.
Now, Mexico, they won all three of their group stage matches. And then I actually have Canada playing in the round of 16 on July 4th. Canada playing Independence Day here in Houston. So I get one of the co-host cities. Of the three co-host cities, do you see, well, obviously one is already in the round of 16, but do you think all three realistically are going to get to that round of 16?
First off, I think it's ironic that the U.S. is playing on Canada Day and Canada will be playing on Independence Day, in the 250th one at that. So somebody wrote this in the script and didn't tell us, and they just left that nugget for us to discover. But I will say this about Mexico, because Mexico did great at getting through the group stage. As a Mexico team hater, I have to give it to them. They defended their home turf well. And they get to be in Mexico City again against Ecuador. Ecuador just beat Germany, so they're on a high. And there's one thing that fans of Mexico have always been dreading, is this one question: can they get to the fifth game? Because in every World Cup they've been to, they have failed, at least for a very long time. They have failed to get to that fifth game in that tournament. So this is number 4. This is where they usually get tripped up. And a team like Ecuador, who's on a high, who just beat Germany, and will not be scared of going into Azteca to play Mexico. That is not an easy matchup for Mexico. Do I think they'll do it? I actually picked Ecuador because, again, part hater, but also part, this is that stigma that they have. And if you think about it, when you keep getting to the same door, you keep trying different combinations and it still doesn't open, at a certain point, you just know that you reach that door, it's over. And so in some of the minds of the players, they have that wall that says, oh my God, I keep hitting this wall and we just can't knock it down to get to where we want to go. And whether it's fate, whether it's karma, whether it's voodoo, whatever, they have that stigma that they have to beat. And that is something that is very difficult to overcome, particularly in front of home fans, where the pressure is even greater. It's one thing to try and do it at a World Cup somewhere else, but it's another thing to do it at home. That's where I think the pressure might get to them. But again, I wouldn't be surprised to see them advance, but I have Ecuador going.
Well, you could argue too that the US might be feeling similar nerves, right?
Similar, but it's a little bit different for Mexico because obviously the culture there is a lot different for soccer than it is the United States. This is one where the vibes you hope will win out for the United States, and you hope that this magical ride that we've been on so far that have really united a lot of fans behind the team. Once that ride ends, there's going to be people who get off, right, and they're going to go somewhere else. In Mexico, it's everything. If they lose, people get fired because they lost the fifth game or the fourth game and couldn't get to the fifth game that they were expected to get to. So it's a little bit different, but yes, the pressure is the same because for all co-hosts, the pressure is the same. And even for Canada, having to leave Canada to play, maybe that reduced some of the pressure for them because they weren't in front of their home fans and they won't be moving forward. But for Mexico and the United States, being in front of the home fans, that is an extra bit of pressure that they have to overcome. But that's the job. That's why they, spent so much money and so much time to try and get this World Cup, because they wanted these moments in front of their home fans. So let's hope they take advantage of it.
So now that we're getting to the round of 16, I want to ask you, from what you've watched, from what you've seen in person, which team are you feeling in your gut is going to win it all?
I think the team that has performed the best for me has been France. And it's because they score a lot of goals. The one person who they were expecting to score goals was Kylian Mbappe. He's been doing that. The other guy that they were hoping would finally get himself into the game, because he had not been in previous tournaments, was Ousmane Dembele, and now he's scoring goals. The fact that those two are scoring goals and they're not the only ones playing well, that's a major problem for anyone they face. And I've always thought they were the strongest team overall. Argentina is still looking good as well, and it looks like, in my mind, it will be France against Argentina, maybe Brazil, in the final in MetLife. And I think France, this will be France's third straight final if they make it. I think they have the veteran experience, and almost everybody on the team has seen a final before. Kylian Mbappe has seen nothing but finals. So I think if they get to that, they know exactly where they'll be. They know they don't have any pressure on them because they already have experienced it. And I just think they're the most solid top to bottom team. They're just I've always liked France. They're just a tough team to overcome. And anybody who has their path intersect with theirs, they're going to have a long day when they step on the field against the Blue.
I'm with you. I feel like France has been the gut instinct for me, which I'm not going on a limb there. Come on, they've been dominant the last several World Cups, but so is Argentina. Messi's looked great. And Brazil, I'll get to see them in person now on Monday, I guess noon tomorrow, which feels like it's already tomorrow because I have to go to bed very soon. So I can't keep up with, it doesn't feel like today's Sunday, but this is actually a week from now I leave. So that's also just mind blowing to me because I feel like I was just here yesterday for the first time, and now I'm counting down. We're like T-7 until I have to get on a plane and get out of here, which is weird. A little sad, I'm not gonna lie.
Look, I landed in LA on June 8th, and someone was like, "Oh, are you just gonna stay out west?" I'm like, "I need to get home. I haven't been home in 2.5 weeks." And then you look back, and like today with the round of 32 starting, I'm like, that was 17 days of straight of soccer, and we're gonna get 8 more days of soccer before there's a break. And it just doesn't feel like it's been that fast, but it has been. It's been a whirlwind. Some days I wake up, I don't know what time it is. I don't know what time zone I'm in. I don't know what city I'm in. I do know that there's soccer on. So I kind of calibrate to that. And so it's fun. It's been fun. And hopefully you enjoy the last week in Houston. And hopefully you get, I think you're going to get a great game tomorrow. And then Canada versus either Netherlands or Morocco. I think you'll hopefully get a nice round of 16 game to close everything out before you head home. And then we'll have to talk about your full experience now that you've gone through it all and you've been there for a little over a month, and just how you took that all in and how it's going to feel, being back at home and being able to watch games from your couch.
Well, I was just thinking, once I go back to Louisville, I'm not ready to go back to Louisville. Maybe I need to get on a plane and go follow the US. So I am going to hope that they keep going so I can maybe meet you and Brian and everybody else out in Seattle, ideally. So
that'd be great. That'd be great. We obviously have a game to win. We have to focus on that. But if we can get past that round of 32, that round of 16 game, everyone is real excited to get back to Seattle. You saw the atmosphere there, and it'll even be better in my mind because it's a knockout game, because the stakes are high, and it'll be against a team in either Belgium or Senegal, who we've seen recently. We saw Senegal in early June. We saw Belgium in March. I want to look. I'm not going to look past Bosnia, so let's focus on that. But if we can get past Bosnia, that round of 16 game is going to be everything, and I think you should get on a plane if that happens.
Let's hope the stars align, and I'll meet you in Seattle, and we'll have
sounds great. Great place to spend the 4th.
together
and watch the U.S. game.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll let you get back to resting before you have to get back on a plane. And I'm going to get to bed so I can get ready for Brazil, Japan. And this is episode 3 of The Extra Kick.